What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I just wanted to discuss Armor 2.0 and my thoughts on whether or not the system overall is bad or whether we can implement some changes to improve it. So to answer that first question of whether or not Armor 2.0 is a bad system, the answer in my opinion is no. But I do think there are some flaws in the system holding it back from really being what it needs to be in this game. So first and foremost, let's look at the main incentives behind players farming gear in Destiny 2. When you're playing an activity and you get a piece of gear to drop, the first thing you look at is what kind of stats the piece of armor has. Usually if it has about 55 to 60 stats, a lot of players will scrap that, some players will keep it. In my opinion, it depends on the distribution of the stats. If I get a piece of gear that's about 55 stats but it offers 20 something discipline, I'm probably going to keep that piece of gear because in a build that I'm searching for to lessen the cooldown of my grenades, a piece of gear with 25 discipline is definitely going to help me out a lot. So that's one thing right there. There's a difference in player philosophies when it comes to gear. Some people look at the total overall stats. Some people just focus on the individual stats. But the point that I'm making is stats are one of the main drives, right now at least, for farming gear in Destiny 2. So now let's say you're trying to get a mod, but the piece of gear that you have doesn't work with that mod. Well, the next thing that's going to offer some incentive to you to keep on grinding is armor affinity. Now, before one of the more recent updates, you had to actually farm for different pieces of gear in order to get the affinity that you wanted, on top of trying to get that stat roll that you were searching for. Bungie recently updated the game to where now you can change your armor affinities for a cost. If you have a piece of gear that's already maxed out and now you decided that you want to change the affinity of that piece of armor, you're going to have to pay a cost of all the total materials that you paid to upgrade that armor in addition to one upgrade module. Now, some people may say that that's too steep of a cost, but the reasoning behind it is they're trying to offer you an opportunity of flexibility to change your affinities while not undermining the overall armor grind and simplifying it down to just getting one piece of gear and constantly being able to change it. In addition to this armor affinity change, Bungie also updated the game to allow for higher stat drops to drop more regularly from a variety of activities within the game. Now, we've discussed what the main drives are behind a player wanting to grind for gear, which is chasing stats, armor affinities. But now let's say that you have the gear that you want in the game. Let's say you have a fully masterworked set of gear that you can use in PvP and PvE. What are the incentives that you have each season to continue to grind armor every time a new set drops? If you already have the optimal stats that you were looking for, then the stats are off the table. If you have the affinities that you were looking for, then those also are off the table. The only other incentive left for you to grind for new pieces of gear is mainly aesthetics. Now, when Bungie first spoke about Armor 2.0, they mentioned how Guardians would be able to look the way that they wanted to look without the restrictions of having to change up their gear in order to be the most powerful monster killing machines that they could be. The problem that I saw with that early on was what would make armor special within a variety of activities such as raids, strikes, crucible, and even gambit. Out of all of the ones that I mentioned, the only armor set in the game that has any type of unique value is the Gambit Prime armor sets. For those who don't know, if you play Gambit Prime and you start to farm the Reckoning, you can earn unique pieces of gear that offer you unique abilities within the Gambit Prime game mode. A quick overview of some of the sets: you have a Reaper set, a Collector set, a Sentry set, and an Invader set. Each one of these unique sets offer you abilities that improve your role within the game mode. So whether you like to kill a lot of ads, or you like to invade, or maybe you just want to defend the bank, there's a set for you that offers you unique abilities within Gambit. On top of this armor set being very useful in Gambit Prime, you can still take it out and use it in other activities within the game. The armor set still uses all the general mods that every other set in the game uses. It can drop with high stat rolls after the most recent update, and you can change your armor affinities. But the extra incentive of getting bonus perks is a reason to grind for this unique armor set to use within this game mode. Now, I like that idea, and I'd love to see that implemented in more of Destiny. I'd love to see that implemented in raids, within strikes, within PvP, offering players some bonus incentive for grinding within each of those different activities, and even for the most dedicated players, offering bonuses for spending their time. So this far into the video, we've talked a lot about Armor 2.0 and how the system works. We've even mentioned some of the recent updates that Bungie's made to improve the system, but now I want to talk about some more changes that we can implement going forward into Destiny 2 and even going into Destiny 3. So lastly, I just mentioned gear set bonuses and how they've worked so far in Gambit Prime. Now, that's not a perfect system and there are improvements that can be made to that, but the overall idea is basically allowing for players to invest themselves within specific activities and coming out with gear that will benefit them within those activities. So let's use the strike playlist as an example. There are plenty of people out there who would love to do strikes, but the one thing holding them back is a lack of incentive. There's no meaningful gear to grind for. There's no desirable weapons to grind for. The strike playlist has been limited to simply just running 3 in order to earn a powerful drop weekly. Now, for the people out there who would love to invest themselves within the Vanguard activities, I propose giving them a gear set to chase, which will amplify everything they do within that playlist. So a few main components that were lost in the transition from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 were strike scoring and skeleton keys. These game mechanics allowed for a lot of fun moments playing strikes with your friends, earning high scores, and earning skeleton keys, which gave you unique drops at the end of strikes. Currently in Destiny 2, the only unique drops that we have in the strike playlist are locked behind the Nightfalls. With the new idea that we're proposing, we could add gear sets into the Vanguard playlist that would allow for players to farm for perks that gave them bonuses to earn skeleton keys, thus allowing them to unlock those unique drops that are currently in the game and any new ones planned for the future. This gameplay loop would be strictly limited within the Vanguard playlist whether you were playing strikes or Nightfalls. The perks that you got on this armor could vary from anything to a points multiplier for a certain kill with certain weapons, boosting your player's ability by achieving a certain score threshold, removing player abilities and allowing for maximum multipliers. There's a variety of different ideas you can come up with, and the gameplay loop would look something like this: playing strikes and Nightfalls and earning unique pieces of gear to that playlist, farming for stat rolls as you would in any other playlist, making sure they're the proper affinities, and trying to collect all the unique pieces with a variety of different unique perks. When it comes time to grind within that playlist and you want to earn some gear, throw on all the gear that you earned within the Vanguard playlist, earn your gear set bonuses, and increase your chances of earning skeleton keys in order to get that gear that you're really chasing. Players who like to play strikes now will have a reason to jump in there, earn that gear, wear that gear, and continue to going forward. This is how we can improve the Armor 2.0 system within Destiny 2 and give Armor the value that it deserves. Now, a lot of people will say, well, then what would be the reason for me to wear any other set of gear? As I said, these specific perks would only benefit you within that playlist, but we're not limiting the mods that are already available within the game. The same structure that currently exists will still exist. It's just a matter of adding some gear set bonuses to the variety of armor that's available in the game currently for the Vanguard, Crucible, Raid, Gambit, and whatever playlists come in the future. You can still look the way that you want with Destiny 2's armor ornament system, so no one's taking away your individuality. Again, it's about just adding more value to items that are constantly entering the game season after season. At some point, if this thing doesn't change, the armor loophole is going to become so diluted to the point where you don't really bother to grind for armor, you don't wear any armor mods, you don't worry about your stat rolls, and you just throw on whatever gear that you have because you can't be bothered with investing in a system that's overwhelmingly populated with a variety of different armor pieces that don't pull you in any one direction. And I know we're talking about armor, but that can also be said about the raid weapons themselves. It's the same concept where raid weapons don't really hold as much value because every weapon in the game can essentially drop with the same perks, just in different ways within each pool. Raid weapons can really use a boost to their perk pool by adding some unique perks that are specific to these different raids. One last thing I wanted to mention were gear pieces like the faction sets and also the planetary sets. A lot of people are currently getting those pieces of gear to drop, but one limitation that they have is that they don't carry the seasonal mod slots. So this eliminates a lot of their utility within a lot of activities that are currently in Destiny 2, including a lot of endgame activities like raids and Grandmaster Nightfalls. One way I could see Bungie dealing with the situation is simply converting those pieces of gear into ornaments, allowing for players to head out into the system to different locations and farm for these different pieces of gear just to get them as ornaments for their already established armor sets. That's one thing that I think Bungie should consider going forward. Instead of adding more and more pieces of gear to various activities for players to farm for, adding more armor ornamentation options within these different play spaces. In my opinion, I don't think that players should be earning gear that can drop with different stat rolls from random drops through legendary engrams while just doing public events. Armor pieces that drop with significant values like stats and armor affinity should only be available within activities that players can go in and farm, like Menagerie, strikes, raids, Crucible, etc. So hopefully I kind of got my point across. I can go a little bit more in depth in this if you guys want me to. We can discuss it down low in the comment section. But I do hope that this video does start a conversation on how we can improve Armor 2.0 going forward and other systems within the game that could also use a little boost to their incentive. If you guys have any other thoughts or comments or ideas that you want to share, or if maybe you disagree with my points and you want to tell me about yours, comment down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to drop a like. Also hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell because I have a lot more videos videos like this planned in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one. Peace.